You're now plugged in to the Delphi podcast.
How is it going, everyone? I've been out of the podcast circuit for a little minute, but I could not be more excited to be back today with Vlad, the founder and CEO of Gunzilla Games. Vlad is a real force of nature that I've had the pleasure of getting to know much better over the last 6 or 7 months, and very excited by everything they're building. And so, Vlad, pleasure to have you here. Very excited to have you on.
It's a great pleasure to be invited on this interview, and thank you, Piers. Thank you for having me here, and it's a great pleasure to know you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So Vlad's been a little under the weather, but he's persevered to make sure he can make it today. And I'm very excited for all of you guys to hear a little bit more from him. So Vlad, maybe you could kick it off a little bit and give us a bit of a background on you. Where did you come from? What have you worked on historically prior to Gunzilla?
Sure. We'll start with a quick introduction to my story. So I started my career in FinTech, where I spent around 7 years, and one of the major achievements which I achieved was the creation of one of the biggest payment systems in Europe, which I started as a co-founder and technical director. And after really getting tired of strict financial restrictions in running such business, and actually a lack of daily excitement, I moved to gaming space, where I'm already now for almost 10 years. And it's worth mentioning that before starting Gunzilla, I co-founded several other companies in gaming space. One of them is the biggest social network for gamers, which is called Blink, which has 18 million users, with 70% of its audience based in the US, with more than 200,000 monthly paying customers. Other companies worth mentioning, of course, the studio which stood behind the creation of Warface, which myself and my business partner Alex, which we operated and managed for many years, running one of the biggest free-to-play multiplayer shooters in the world, which united more than 140 million users worldwide and made more than $1 billion in revenue. Also worth mentioning, the voice communication company, which provides voice comms tools for AAA game developers and for mobile apps, called Sonos today. And this is everything what I mentioned crafted me to become the creator and co-founder and the showrunner of Gunzilla Games today.
Amazing. So yeah, I mean, clearly, had a large degree of success in various other business ventures, especially in gaming as well. Like, what kind of drove you to it, right? What was the initial impetus towards Gunzilla? I believe you made a pretty substantial personal investment as well to get this thing off the ground. Like, would love to learn a little bit more about what drove you to it.
I was a passionate gamer from my childhood, and my PC was my best friend when I was a child. Piers, I think that you spent lots of years in front of your PC playing games as well. And since I joined the gaming space, I felt myself truly satisfied with what I'm doing daily. And our Gunzilla journey with my business partner started from Warface. And the first idea was the general idea of the creation of Gunzilla Games was to create the next big thing in gaming space based on all our proven experience in Warface. This is why Warface became most of all popular on the emerging markets, such as CIS region, Eastern Europe, Brazil, Turkey, and many others. And the dream was to make the number one multiplayer shooter for the Western market. And we understood to achieve this aim, the new studio which we would open, and we came up to this idea at the same moment when we operated and ran Warface, was to create the studio in Frankfurt, Germany, where it would be easier to relocate best experts from all over the world to work on the new IP and on a completely new shooter game. So this is how it has all started. So this is how it's all started, with the dream and understanding what do we need to make the number one multiplayer shooter for Western markets, for worldwide market, because we knew that with Warface, with also worth mentioning that Warface by this moment was a 7 years old game, which was built on CryEngine, and which utilized pretty old version of this engine. And for us, it was pretty difficult to make a huge step forward in visuals and in our vision of the future game design, which people worldwide.
And so then let's, sort of fast forward 5 years. I think there's been almost $100 million invested in development. The team's grown from that initial 100 that you guys hired up to over 370 now. You guys have delivered a product that, I in my waking and my dreaming life, can't stop thinking about. I'm absolutely hooked on. What is Off the Grid? What was the idea? Where are you guys right now?
Off the Grid is a next generation multiplayer Battle Royale shooter, which is available now on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and next week will be available on Mac and even mobile devices, and even your smart TVs through cloud gaming. Off the Grid is a next generation shooter which is based on our understanding of the future game design and future interests of gamers. Piers, in the beginning you mentioned that that you enjoyed that we have already delivered this experience. I don't think so. Yes, the game is available. It's live. Millions of users are already enjoying it, but it's only a beginning of it's a small piece of our journey, of our vision and journey. And this is why the current state of our product is called early access. And as you may heard publicly and heard from me and from other team members, we prepared lots of other huge parts of the product, which is coming live in a couple of months, some of them in a couple of weeks, which I'm most of all waiting for. And just wanted to emphasize that it's a small piece of something what we've been working on so hard for the last 5 years. It was pretty difficult to deliver it. It took us 5 years and the work of 370 full-time working employees across the globe to deliver OTG to our gamers and our fans. We had to establish a significant development budget. I would say it's not significant for AAA games, as you may know, but for companies which I would say for Web3 gaming space, it's definitely one of the biggest ones, probably the biggest one. And we definitely have the biggest headcount working on this game. It was a bumpy road, but everything was worth of it. And we're proud that people are enjoying the first iteration, the first part of what we've been crafting so hard for the last years.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always music to my ears when you emphasize that this is only such a small slice, because I haven't been fully addicted to a video game in some time. So even the early access, even the playtest, it's been a fucking pleasure to play. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess it's just over a month now since launch. Would love if you can just give us some super high level like snapshots of like, what are some of the highlights? Obviously you had the sort of big console launch, the big streamer campaign. Yeah, what's really stood out from your mind so people can have a flavor of like, yeah, just the kind of scale that this has hit already in terms of interest and buzz for people that might not follow gaming as closely.
Sure, I will try to share some insights about and give some information which will be understandable for different categories of viewers. So first of all, what's important to mention that on 8th of October, a little bit more than a month ago, we launched on PlayStation and PC. Our game was available on Xbox only for Series X users, only through Pioneers program. This Pioneers program on Xbox is called Xbox Insider program, which unfortunately has 50,000 users cap. So for the first months, we by today we haven't been able to provide the access to OTG to more than 50,000 users on Xbox, and we are slowly rolling it out right now. By the moment when this interview will go live, probably it will be already an official information. But what we can officially state that within the first days after the launch of the grid, uh, only with this limitation on Xbox, millions of users already started playing off the grid. So we're expecting a huge add of a huge new user base after the launch of Xbox and lots of our other initiatives. Something else what we're really proud of that, as you may know, OTG is a completely free-to-play experience where people are paying for extras only if they want to. And we are proud that almost 10% of users within the first days after the launch immediately subscribed for OTG Pro and found it pretty useful and exciting experience for them. This is what I would like to start with. Maybe any
I
other.
love it. Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, no, amazing, amazing numbers, amazing initial launch. I guess also the initial streamer push taking you to like top 3 on Twitch was pretty exciting. Number 1 free-to-play game globally on Epic Games Store is pretty exciting. And then, yeah, I guess we can get into the All-Stars event, which we just recently had as well, shortly. But I guess to jump into kind of the game and the creative vision a little bit, maybe you could talk us through like why you chose to tackle Battle Royale, what some of the strongest like key differentiators you took like going into it were, and maybe just some commentary on like, you know, the kind of lack of innovation we've seen in the shooter genre broadly.
Sure. So we were, and myself, our team and myself, we were pretty selective with the genre, and I would like to start with explaining why Battle Royale, why this genre first of all. From our previous experience in gaming space and market knowledge, the number one thing which kills successful games is lack of new content and repetitive gameplay. What Battle Royale genre, from our standpoint of view, and I believe that this is something what keeps and retains the biggest user base. By the way, this is the biggest user base. This genre has the biggest user base in multiplayer games genre. So we're initially targeted the biggest chunk of multiplayer audience. But what keeps it so much retained is lack of repetitive experience. The beauty of the genre is that whatever you add in new content or not, your each session will be pretty different, and you know it very well as the fan of Battle Royale space, because nobody knows what will be your next weapon, what will be your teammate's weapon, who will be your teammate, who will be your opponent, who is going to appear where on the map, and this is something what right away prolongs the stickiness of user to the product. So I would say this is reason number two why we chose this genre. And the third one, the reason number three, uh, I think that there are different type of managers, founders, CEOs who are running game development companies. I'm a type of manager who really plays games, and Battle Royale genre is my favorite game. So I was, some people may say that it might be a little bit strategically not wise to make the game for yourself, because I do not represent perfectly our target audience, but I can proudly say that I was making since the beginning the game of my dreams. And after playing thousands of hours, initially starting with PUBG and then moving on to Apex Legends, Fortnite, Call of Duty Warzone, I think that OTG is the essence of the best experience which I personally collected and our team members collected from other games, and put it, and we took this essence and put it on steroids with our vision what will work for future Battle Royale players for the next 5 to 10 years. And of course it's only the beginning, because to win, to make the next big thing, I think, as in gaming space, as in other spaces, you need to be able to predict. You need to be able to predict what will people love in future, not today. Because keeping in mind how long are the development circles and how much time it takes to incorporate anything you want to add into the game, with hundreds of people working on one feature, you need to be able to predict. Because if you just chase the today's trends, you will never succeed. And I think that this is something what we originally where we originally chose the right direction. As you know, for example, our rebirth mode from Warzone, which is an OTG curl, sorry, which for massive user base is called rebirth mode from Warzone. We initially started creating this game mode with calling it Extraction Royale. And after we recognized that Call of Duty Warzone added it, later Fortnite added it, then Apex Legends added it, we understood that we managed to predict what will be popular. And the idea behind the creation, first of all, of this game mode before the full Battle Royale experience was to create a more casual way for gamers to play the game. Because the more hardcore experience is, the more difficult is to retain these people. Yeah, probably.
Totally. And then yeah, I guess to get specific on some of the like key like gameplay mechanics that you guys arrived at, like talk us through the cyber limbs, for example, right? That's like one of my favorite fucking things about this game. That and the movement, I must say. And I know that was one of your creations, one of your ideas. Maybe you can talk us through where that idea came from and sort of like, yeah, why that's become so cool.
It's funny to say I don't remember if I discussed it with you personally before, or I definitely have never shared it personally. But the first time this idea came up to my mind around 8 years ago, at this moment we didn't have Gunzilla, and we planned to co-develop this game style with other studios. And I remember how I sent the pitch deck of this game to Amazon Games with exactly at this moment it was a mix between Battle Royale and just open world experience, but it was based on replaceable cyber limbs. And again, the idea was that after playing Overwatch, after playing hero shooters, after playing Team Fortress, again for thousands of hours as well, I thought that gamers need the experience which would avoid repetitiveness. So the idea behind the creation of the cyber limbs, replaceable cyber limbs, is that you would never know which hero you will build in the next session. So it makes the experience completely unpredictable and makes you stay in the game much longer. So this idea is already 8 years long. I never knew. You cannot imagine how many challenges we had during the delivery process to our product of connecting cyber limbs. I remember that we spent around 8 months only on the visual research, how to create the art representation of connecting limbs. And at this moment, we even added plenty of completely different concept artists to create this idea. But this is how it started with. It started with a desire to create a new experience, and now it's represented in this feature, which is completely different. And
totally, no, I love that. I love the dynamism it drives. And one of the things, like, you were saying when I first started playing as well, is to just like jump in, try all the different limbs. And like, I think you guys have done a really good job of like trying to push, that all of them are viable depending on your play style, right? And like, it allows, like right now, sure, there are ones that are sort of meta, but there's like multiple of them, right? And people will have like different preferences. And I love the dynamism it gives rise to. And as I say, like the movement, the jetpack, being able to get around the map the way you can is something that really, really stands out. You mentioned taking 8 months to kind of nail the, visual style, how it would all work, the actual mechanics of having these cyber limb systems. That's quite a nice segue into, kind of the sort of creative direction of the project. I think one of the things that's incredibly unique is you having Neill Blomkamp on board, as a director of a ton of sort of cult sci-fi movies, and most recently Gran Turismo, as well as sort of like Richard Morgan writing the narrative piece, who wrote Altered Carbon, and Shalto, who works very closely with Neill and has been in all of his films. Maybe you could talk us through the origin story of that and how these guys came to be, so intimately tied into kind of the creative and artistic direction of this universe.
I've always been a huge fan of sci-fi genre, and of course, I think that everyone in the world who loves this genre knows Neill and knows his work because it has always been, I would say, something super different and recognizable. His films like Elysium, Chappie, District 9, I watched hundreds of times, at least Chappie in the beginning. I remember when, Chappie, District 9 and Chappie, by the way, enjoyed it a lot as well. And since we started to create OTG, I knew that we wanted to aim to nearby future in our own creative vision. There was a reason why. Also, monetization wise, it's much easier to make content applicable to wider audience if you use nowadays recognizable assets. So, for example, if you create a futuristic blaster shooting sci-fi rifle, it's much more difficult to sell it than a modified AK-47 with different futuristic cables on it. This is a reality of the space. And this is why we chose nearby future. And of course, we couldn't find any better visual representation than Elysium for our game, except, of course, the exoskeleton technology, which I didn't like for our game from the very beginning, because I thought that it was adding too much weight to each character, and it would make robots from characters, but we wanted them to be human beings with modified body parts, always. This is why we started to cover the whole office with different concept art from Elysium and from District 9 and from Chappie for many months. And our artists at Gunzilla started to create all content. I always said, Neill Blomkamp's films, Chappie, District 9, Elysium, this is our target. This is how the game should look like. And 6 months later, our universe creator and our scriptwriter, Richard Morgan, who joined Gunzilla, by the way, since the very beginning, since the first days of the creation of Gunzilla Games, he, by himself, without asking me, decided to send the first script and the universe description of OTG to Neill, just using his email. They were not connected before, so he just used his email and sent him the script and the universe description and shared that we worked on this game for already almost a year. Neill immediately responded. He was, first of all, as I remember, caught by our space elevator on our Earth, on our Teardrop Island, on our version of Earth, right?
There we go.
And it was I remember every day it was a real magic. I could not imagine that Oscar nominee and my favorite sci-fi movie director, one of my favorite movie directors of all time, decided to work with me and co-found Gunzilla Games and run this company and run this product. I couldn't imagine and couldn't believe in this for many months in the beginning when Neill joined us. But there is a very special story which stood behind Neill joined us, because before he officially joined us, he came to our Warface studio in Kiev. At this moment, I was in Kiev. We were based in between Frankfurt and Kiev at this time. And we decided to make a trip to Chernobyl. And we took the major core members of our team. Neill rent a bus and went into the most hardcore locations in Chernobyl and just to explore it and find extra inspiration. And I think that this special moment, this special day, and this place is really unique. Everyone who watched HBO series called Chernobyl can imagine what happened there, what a disaster happened there, but it affected the region so much, and it became like a parallel world I can talk about it later why, but this special moment united Neill, our team, myself into one creature, I think. And since that moment, Neill joined us officially and started taking over the universe creation, the visual style. And today, everything what players visually interact with, and here, by the way, all cutscenes, weapons, characters, environments, music, everything what players, no, everything except game design, Neill directs each asset, literally creating the name of each weapon, signs of the creation of each weapon attachment. So this is his baby, as mine, and yeah, this is how it all started with Richard Morgan's email. So without Richard, Neill would not be here.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's such a cool, story of their involvement, and then, having Neill and Shalto so intimately involved is really fucking cool to see. You know, both my headquarters studio visits have been awesome to hang out with those guys, spend time with them, and see the passion that's clearly there. I think one thing I'd emphasize from my perspective as well is that, like, as you say, it's been a monumental push getting like the early access, getting Extraction Royale where it is. Like, the amount of that creative direction that's still to come in the game is something that excites me enormously, right? Obviously, it's a bit of a different beast to making movies, and so I think I think that the feedback loops might be slightly longer, but very excited to see what comes downstream of that. I wanted to move then into a bit more like the kind of like business strategy and technology behind all this stuff. So maybe you could talk like I think the first most standout thing, very obviously, right, is that this is the first game with an on-chain footprint to ever be approved on consoles, right? You guys have absolutely nailed the launch in terms of optics with the mainstream. You know, you've had like the buy-in and the blessing of all the big streamers around this. Like, taking a step back, like, what drew you to this originally? And tell us about like your philosophy and approach to it.
Sure. For us, you called it on-chain footprint. For us, the main intention to create community-driven, to use blockchain, let's say, to use blockchain in OTG, is to create a community-driven economy. And there is a very deep reason why. When we used to run Warface, at the first time when first generation of crypto gaming chains appeared around 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, they started to come to us and offer us to move Warface economy and put it on chain. And at this moment, we analyzed the potential of making all assets limited and giving the control over these assets to users, and we found it pretty promising. But the problem was that when you have a product which makes millions of dollars per month of profits on the established, proven economy model, first of all, what you're afraid of most of all is not to make more money, but to lose these profits, because it's very difficult, extremely difficult, to build a sustainable economy model, not only for players, but for the developer. And this is why we understood to fully utilize all of the advantages of blockchain and making community-driven economy, the game should be created from scratch. We knew this. And this is why OTG was designed from scratch to incorporate community-driven economy. And there is a reason why. Because at the moment when we create any feature, limbs, loadouts, narrative, everything what we do, in the end should lead to higher conversion rates. Conversion rates to keep users longer in your product, to make them pay more, to make them enjoy the game more, to invite more friends, to stay longer in your product. And for us, community-driven economy, where we could only build it by using blockchain, first of all, affected the long-term retention of users. Because when each user has an opportunity in each match to find something super valuable, probably worth of asset, which is worth of thousands of dollars, this user will have an extra incentive to play one more night, to stay one more hour in the session, and increase long-term retention rates. This is the first reason. And the second one, lots of people forget the definition of AAA games. Piers, may I ask you, what do you think? How do you treat AAA games? If the first, not the official description, but what does it mean for you?
I think it all stems down to like production budget, right? And like the scale of these things is the most like obvious high level one that most people revolve around.
This is probably the most common definition which people come up with, but I think that this is something what people forget, and first of all, developers forget, because AAA games used to meant that that this product is pushing the boundaries somewhere in design, in art, in for example, for me, Max Payne was pushing the boundaries, right? Crysis was pushing the boundaries, Far Cry was pushing the boundaries in art, in game design, in many other areas. But today, any game with big budget is a AAA game. So we try to innovate and push boundaries everywhere. We, from the very beginning, aim to make the best visuals in Battle Royale genre. I know that lots of people will think right now, you managed to do this with, but decrease the performance a lot, what we're fixing right now, and improving the optimization. But this new take on the community-driven economy, we believe it's going to be the next generation of the way how people will monetize their products and increase involvement of their customers in this product. And we made a bet on it. We truly, with our hearts and souls, believe that this is what we as gamers, as players, would like to have. This is why OTG probably is the most consumer-oriented game, because you cannot buy anything from us, any asset, any weapon, any skin, any body part, except our monthly subscription, which basically provides you access to increase the earning rate of your currency, in-game currency, gun tokens, and provides you access to unique content, which can also be obtained by playing the game and by earning the currency.
So, yeah, I mean, love all of that. I mean, I wonder if there's anything you can share with us in terms of, like navigating that console approval process, right? Because obviously there was something about the purity of your vision and the sincerity with which you communicated it that made you guys the first ones to do it. Obviously, as I say, bridging that gap to the big streamers, to the mainstream, has been a huge ordeal. Like, what would you say was different about what you guys did that has allowed this to come to fruition?
I would still say that there is something what we would like to call our secret sauce, and do not share in front of all our opponents right now.
Quite right,
But
quite right.
what I can share, sorry for my voice, is after All Stars event, I'm a little bit losing it.
No, I appreciate you being here, Vlad.
But what I can share, that the most difficult reason, this is something what I can officially state, the most difficult reason why Gunzilla is the first, and I believe in the nearby future will be the only company which delivered a Web3 game to consoles, is that the development process just to bring your game to PlayStation or Xbox is extremely difficult. Guidelines, not even related to Web3 components, are crazy difficult and requires huge resources, as internal as external. And just for you to know that I don't know, our legal will probably say that I cannot share this, but it takes a huge time just to set up the development process using development kits, special hardware, which need to be used to create your game for PlayStation, Xbox. The preparation process to start the development takes at least half a year just to start doing something there. On PC, you can do whatever you want with your product, but when you get when you start using PlayStation and Xbox as a marketplace for your product, this is where the all additional time starts to be needed to deliver any new feature. For people who have ever developed their products for iOS or Android, where they know that you need to verify each step, each feature which you add with third party, they probably easier understand what does it mean.
Mm-hmm.
This is the reason why I think Gunzilla is unique, because you need a lot of people and a lot of resources and a lot of experience to simply be able to launch it on PlayStation and Xbox.
Plus the Gunzilla secret sauce, which we won't share with
Plus, yeah,
listeners.
plus
Yeah.
Gunzilla secret
And,
sauce.
and then I get also just curious, like, I've heard you before say that you want to make a big push to having like as much data around the economy exist on chain, kind of the transparency that comes with the marketplace infrastructure. Could we maybe double click a little bit on kind of your rationale behind all of that, and maybe even just from your perspective as a gamer, what really stood out as it relates to that?
Sure. So the initial idea was to provide the unprecedented transparency as for our investors, as for our community and consumers. Because how gamers can believe that their asset is unique and one of the kind, and only they own it, without seeing the whole picture, right? Without seeing how many specific weapons were ever minted and who they belong to, right? This is why everything what happens in OTG is based on chain and is absolutely transparent through our block scanner, as for our investors, as for our community. So we made it transparent for everyone to analyze everything what's happening under the hood of the game. Let's talk about our investors. So as you know, Gunzilla has more than $100 million development budget. And I think what is pretty unique in this story, that myself and my business partner, co-founder Alex, put the initial development budget for this company for the first 2 years, which made the story a little bit different, at least comparing to many other companies. So we bootstrapped initially and funded the development for the first 2 years before we raised any dollar from our investors. And step two was to provide a development budget for our product. And at this step, I cannot, of course, disclose the whole picture, but what I can say that we decided to make the whole economy and everything what's happening monetization wise in OTG completely transparent, as for our consumers, as for our investors, as to our investors. So our investors are seeing live every time when players are buying the subscription, every time when they're buying the assets, who are they paying the transaction fees, who are they paying the royalties. So the full economy is completely transparent for everyone. And this is why I believe, this is the reason why people believe in it and trust it. This was the initial take on this.
I love that. And then, I guess also want to touch on, crypto is a bit of a double-edged blade, right? On the one hand, the kind of like transparency is amazing that it opens up. Obviously, I like this sort of like digital property rights, actual ownership in these economies is like a huge pull for lots of people. But a lot of people push back around the whole like speculation element. Like obviously crypto is this hot ball of money that can come in and have like an adverse impact on an economy. There's also the capacity for like hoarding and people playing more complex kind of economic strategies with these different economies. And so maybe you could talk us through how you sort of balance all of this out and ensure that this is, a best-in-class experience for users and they're not just getting dumped on by someone who's bought up all of the epic kestrels in the game, not naming names.
Sure. So I think that I can share our philosophy, which stands behind it. So to avoid speculation, which can be made as with, first of all, with our token, the first step which we made is to break the direct connection between the token price and the value of our assets in OTG. So what does it mean? If GUN token, not if, when GUN token, when the price of GUN token may increase to be absolutely eligible to statements, the price of in-game assets in OTG will never skyrocket, because all of the prices in OTG are selected by our community. So they select the price in real world currency. For example, they believe that their unique weapon is worth of $500, and users are paying the price for this asset based on the current price of our token inside of the game, which is not directly tied to the price of the token in on which won't be directly tied to the price of our token on the exchanges and on the open market. This is what I believe is the number one initiative which doesn't emphasize the speculation around your token, which can decrease the positive experience of your community. While we want our community to speculate around in-game assets. We want them to predict which weapons, which body skins, which body parts, which some of them become not available in the next weeks, next days, which of them will skyrocket and will become beloved by the community most of all. This is something what other games are already doing in Web3 space without making this experience convenient and eligible to local local legal rules. So, for example, in Steam, you can sell for real world currency in-game assets, but you're using shady websites and other non-compliant solutions, which this marketplaces are offering. In OTG, you can use as officially supported marketplaces inside of the game, as which unfortunately currently do not allow you to withdraw our tokens. Or you can, for example, use third-party NFT marketplaces like OpenSea, which officially support our token as a payment method, and where you can directly withdraw your in-game assets from OTG and sell them, or buy them and inject them into your account. All these features are available with just one remark, that you need to be the owner of OTG Pro subscription, which can be acquired with our GUN token by simply playing the game. So, just to summarize this experience, I think that our major aim was to create the economy not based on crypto market trends. So Gunzilla Games and Off the Grid won't benefit directly right away from bull markets, but won't lose its value of this component when something is wrong with the market. Because the value of our token is based not on the hype, but based on the needs of our users to pay for their experience in our product. And we believe this is the only legitimate and proven way to build long-term sustainable economy and business. Gunzilla is a business. It's not a speculative pump dump story which many people know about.
That's what I think people need to realize, is a game of this caliber that I believe is going to compete in the big leagues, well, is competing in the big leagues with the Apexes, the Warzones, the biggest Battle Royales on the planet. Like, the idea that you have total insight into the economy's function and like such granularity around transaction types, you know, how battle pass subscriptions are trending over time and are obviously fully liquid in the asset that has the entitlement to those rev shares, is like an insanely attractive setup. So yeah, totally aligned there. One thing. Yeah,
sorry for interrupting, but I need to do it one more time. I just received a message. It will be already obvious information, but we have just became Game of the Year on Games Awards.
I'd love to hear it. There we go. The Games at GG Awards. Yeah, well, very well deserved. And I'm sure there's plenty more to come. One of the things I wanted to touch on is around like the go-to-market strategy and the kind of the philosophy around that, because, you know, building a AAA game is one thing from a resource perspective, and then marketing it is another, right? These days, you can sort of budget 50% of your total budget towards marketing in the AAA category. And so I'd love to learn a bit more about your philosophy behind that, and what you guys are doing differently. You know, yeah, maybe you could talk us through the initial launch campaign and also stuff like All Stars.
Sure. You know, in the very beginning of my career, when I started to build consumer products like Blink, since I started to spend first budgets on acquiring users, I always was aiming for the lowest price for the user acquisition, lowest price per user, right? This is something what any company is looking for, probably, right? But a little bit later on, I understood that there is another very important subject, which is called brand awareness and product awareness. And this is something what cannot be counted directly right away today. You cannot say how it affects your price per install, right? Or you cannot today even say how it will affect the LTV, the revenue which are going to make with your product. But this is something what just needs to be done if you're aiming to become the global leader in your industry, especially in our genre. So something what we're looking today, first of all, we're looking for our stickiness rates for our audience, such as retention, churn, LTV of our users, and non-stop working on improving these numbers. This is something what I believe even Fortnite is doing daily. This is a continuous non-stop work of forever improving cohorts of your users and improving their experience and make them stay longer, pay more, and enjoy the product more. This is something what I mentioned. Though there are other initiatives, as I mentioned, which cannot be directly analyzed, sorry, not directly analyzed, but won't make as much results today, but long term they will work much more. The recent launch, much more results. So the recent launch of our All Stars event, this is the clear sign for the whole market that OTG is here not to only become a casual experience for your night session, but this is the game, this is the product to which many gamers, streamers, gaming celebrities can make a career in. And we're here to create monthly events which will reward people who will decide to build their career as streamers, as professional gamers in OTG. It's something not special. This is something what we have done, what we did with Warface many times. We also had every quarter a live event, a live esport tournaments. All other games are doing this. It's not something special what we have done. To be absolutely transparent, we're not doing anything extraordinary for traditional games. For Web3 space, probably yes, but not for traditional games. We're following their best practices with our own take on this. Of course, based on our experience achieved before. So I just wanted to share that the recent event, the All Stars event, from our standpoint of view, became super successful. We had more Twitch viewers. I wanted to say viewers. Yeah, that will be a new Gunzilla metrics, viewers. So we had 140,000 concurrent viewers of our event for 5 hours. At peak it was 140,000, and it's basically more than we had at the launch day of our game. And imagine this event happening several times per month in different regions of the world. And for Gunzilla, just to be absolutely transparent, it's much more cheaper to run this event than to run an initial marketing campaign, because streamers and our attendees, they're fighting for the reward, which overall is this amount is much smaller than you would pay for uniting all of these people just to stream your game. So it's an extra step in decreasing our user acquisition prices and creating long-term commitment for community members and leading streamers, celebrities from gaming space to associate themselves with this game and continue playing it. We're planning to build a substantial viewership, daily viewership on Twitch, but it requires the creation of long-term incentives for people who are streaming your game, besides of enjoying it. This is what we're working on right now.
No, I love it. Yeah, the inaugural All Stars event from earlier this week was fucking awesome to see. Had a bunch of the guys that I've watched in various pro tournaments around the world there, and everyone seemed to love it. I thought the way you guys structured it in terms of the prize pool breakdown and whatnot was incredibly well done. Could you maybe just before we move on, also touch on like the daily in-game tournaments as well, right? Because a lot of people who don't have massive audiences are competing on daily leaderboards. I don't know whether everyone knows this, but there's an 8-hour window every day, and basically where people rank in those leaderboards during that period is an entitlement to some portion of a prize pool. And it's been amazing from my perspective to see like, you know, hobbyist degen players that are like in the team that I play as a part of, Team Merciless, shout out, absolutely crushing the leaderboards at the moment. Seeing all of those guys get so excited about it and what that does for engagement and like stimulation. It feels like a bit of a different objective somewhat than the big like flashy pro events. So maybe you could talk us through that one as well.
Sure. It's another step in increasing retention rate of our users. This is something what also our competitors have. For example, Fortnite has daily cash caps, which allows these tournaments allow users to earn cash rewards for simply playing the game. This is another initiative which we have incorporated to increase the stickiness of our audience. The more they stay, the more they pay. It's a very simple rule, and this is what we are aiming for.
Nice. I'd love to hear all of that. And yeah, kind of before we head into some of the like future vision around this, I wanted to just hear any reflections from you, like raising 100 mil by whatever typical budget, like development budgets from big studios isn't huge, but taking a step back, that's a massive amount of money and obviously comes with its own challenges. Maybe there's any thoughts you can share on the journey of getting to where you have been from the raise and kind of development perspective.
Thank you for your question. This is something what I wanted to hear 4 years ago, honestly, when I started this journey. If somebody would tell me what to do, right, I would want to hear this most of all. When we started to put our money into the company, and as I mentioned, Gunzilla was bootstrapped by founders' money for the first 2 years. It was so weird for us to hear about the raises of $60 million, $70 million, $100 million in teams with like 30 people and, probably lack of existing product, which makes revenue and stuff like this. For us, as for entrepreneurs with successful background of products which are making profits today. So we just asked ourselves why would we invest in the company which so much money which doesn't spend it effectively, for example, on the creation of the product, or doesn't have a product right now. Years later, my biggest learning is that to make this dream, to make the product of this caliber life, there is one simple rule for everyone which will work long term. Work harder, sleep less, and do more than any other person. Of course, we're different. Of course, one person is a little bit smarter than other people, right? And they have different background, different education, different life experience, etc. But these are all multiplicators. It's not the core thing. The core thing is that you need to work harder, be committed for 110%, and never give up. Sorry, I moved a little bit into other area into this question because it's very personal for every entrepreneur. Of course, Gunzilla is not a journey when we started, we put 20 mil of our own money, and just investors came to us and gave us other $80 million. No, we had to fight for this. It was a war to come to this point and to deliver this game with so many challenges, with receiving so many no's and lacks of belief in us. But in the end, right, we achieved this result. We delivered what we promised, and it's still only a beginning. So making it more, giving more hints into what is important into this journey. I think that there were several people who believed in us in the very beginning. First of all, I would like to mention Republic Capital and their team who found us in the very beginning and believed in us and started to support us years ago when we started to build Gunzilla. I would like to personally mention Christian Sullivan, who who first initially met us on behalf of Republic, on behalf of Republic Investment Fund, and later on, many years later, since their investment, he joined us as a team member and as one of our investors. But the support of the right people, this is what you guys need. Everyone who is looking to build their own product, it's all about whom you're going to choose to move on with. It's all about connecting the dots. And I mean, on the investor side. So two main aspects probably of this, three main advices what are important for this. First one is to work harder than anyone else, and then your products will be ahead of your competitors. Just work harder and make your team members work harder. Second one, try to find right people. It might be not the biggest money, right? It not the highest valuation, but long term, right people is everything in achieving your long term goals. And third one, of course, when you raise funds to make your dream come true and make your investors' dream come true, put yourself on the side of investors and bring the offer for them, which would make sense, first of all, for you. Something different from the whole market. And this is what I think worked for Gunzilla.
I love that. Wise words from Vlad. And yeah, that's step one of work harder. I mean, you know, a lot of people in crypto trading meme coins like to think they're in the trenches. I've seen you in battle mode over the last few months, Vlad, getting near to launch and the streamer push and everything since. And it's been, a hell of a testament to who you are and your appetite for doing that. And it's what's given me so much confidence in Gunzilla and obviously in you and what's coming downstream in all the years to come. Which I'm enormously excited for. And I mean, that presents a lovely segue, right? But the future, right? What does the Gunzilla journey to 100 million players look like? What are the key KPIs that you guys are tracking for the next 12 months? Tell us a bit more about the Gunzilla domination.
Sure. So first of all, right now, our product is ongoing the polishing live phase. We haven't delivered the full amount of content. It's a small piece of everything what we have been working on for 5 years for now. So our number one priority is to polish the product based on and prepare it for step 2 to growth from tens of millions of users to hundreds of millions of users by incorporating hotfixes and our user base feedback and launching the missing parts of our products, such as our community-driven economy. Our token hasn't been launched yet. It will be launched soon. And it will not only become it will not only give a birth to our community-driven economy, but it will become a home for other gaming studios which are planning to incorporate community-driven economies into their products, what we are waiting for so much. So we believe that these two steps, the launch of Gunzi chain, the official launch of our mainnet, and the final polishing phase of our product, which we're aiming to complete within the next several months and release the full experience of OTG. This is something what fuels our rocket right now before the launch of this rocket to 100 million user base, which we're aiming as a step 1 in our strategy.
I love that. All step ones of a strategy should start with 100 million players. I love it, Vlad.
Can I just make one important note? It's not about attracting 100 million users. It's all about retaining these people and making them stay in your product for years. Because what's important for the market? Because user acquisition prices are only growing. Your expenses on user on TikTok, Snapchat, on all of the user acquisition channels are growing every year. LTVs are and the revenue which you can make from user, this revenue doesn't grow if you do not improve your product. So to earn more or just to earn the same amount of money from each user, you need to evolve. You need to evolve every day and become stronger and better, because other guys, other products, other games, other crypto projects, they're doing this. They're fighting with you every day. Whatever you sleep or eat or do not work, at this moment somebody else is working on it. So this is what is really crucial in this user acquisition journey. Games are profitable when they retain users for years. If it's not a consumer mobile app with a subscription when people can use once, pay once, and you can easily attract them, more of them. You need to retain them for years. That's when you can make billions on products like this.
I love that. Maybe just to double click on that a bit, like what are some of the key like retention drivers that you're excited around? Like obviously, you touched on like the narrative pieces coming online, the broadening of the, to the actual bigger battle royale mode. Like, again, like having the formidable creative direction you guys have. Like I'm sure people have seen on Twitter by now the recent like Save Democracy skin, right, of having something fresh that's a bit edgy. It's what I love about Gunzilla. You spoke earlier about not giving up a ton of control to equity investors. It allows you guys to do stuff that's pushing the envelope a bit, that's actually, sort of non-PC and a bit edgy, and it's something that feels so fresh in gaming. So yeah, just curious about what some of the like lower hanging fruit, so to speak, from your perspective is in terms of driving retention to users that the player base hasn't yet seen.
So you said what you're most of all excited about, but when you're working with retention in the very beginning, you're most of all in the beginning you're looking for problems, right? Not for excitement points.
Right.
And I would then switch this conversation to something what we found out can improve our game a lot and make it grow even faster. Some learnings, right? So first of all, of course, performance is important. Besides of being creatively one of the best visual experiences in the world, it's important to in a very competitive game to deliver stable 60 plus FPS on consoles and 100 plus FPS experience on any specs for your consumers. This is something what drives retention significantly based on our experience, and this is something what is a pretty important learning from me. So of course we knew that we're in early access and we're still polishing the experience, and OTG will only evolve in its performance in coming days, even not only coming weeks. But today's audience, because of the massive offers from other developers of other products, they are not able to wait. They won't stay in your product if you don't have a proper onboarding. They won't stay in your product if you don't catch them on the hook of excitement from the first seconds. They're not watching the introduction videos about how to play the game. You need to take them and make them go through this experience. So something what's happening with the global consumer audience, people are losing attention even faster than previously. New generation of gamers, you can call them TikTokers, right? They're just browsing, and if something doesn't attract their attention within a second, they skip it and go to other place. This is a new learning. So if you do not attract attention of your user today, so 5 years ago, you got 30 minutes to do this. Today, you have 2 minutes to attract the attention of your user. This is the biggest learning. Sorry, I went too much into and other retention drivers. So, of course, we already found out that a significant chunk of our audience already participate in our community-driven economy, because all our assets, which are earned by our community members today, by our gamers, will be moved to the mainnet and will already have a real value. Some of the assets which we rewarded our early community members, testers, for example, participants in Pioneers program months ago, almost half year ago, they have the value of 30,000 gun tokens. and can be worth of thousands of dollars after the launch of our mainnet right away. So our community-driven economy is already proven and affects the retention rates significantly. And another learning, something what I mentioned, right, is this hook of your audience and their immersion as soon as possible and building their connection with the product. This is something what we found as one of the biggest drivers in the retention. So I can tell you, for example, that our users who make at least one kill, one hex extraction, and one loadout request within 48 hours since the launch of the game first time have 90% retention D1 and 50% retention 46% retention D7. So this is why something what I touched, the onboarding of our audience and introduction of this audience to the game and building this hook with users right away since the launch of the game is crucial.
Absolutely. Makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's a lot to take in, right? Both from the mechanics perspective with the cyber limbs when you drop into this game, the movement systems. I think definitely the hex extraction piece we haven't really touched on here, but for those that don't know, hexes you can loot randomly when you're moving around the environment, and you can take them to key locations on the map called extraction sites, hence the name Extraction Royale. And basically you need to defend them for a variable amount of time based upon their rarity. And if you successfully do so, you can take the item out of the game, decode it, and actually mint the asset on chain, for those of you that don't know that piece, to clarify. But yeah, no, all makes a lot of sense. I want to head into a few sort of closing questions here, Vlad. It's been a pleasure chatting through all of this. I wanted to ask you straight up, what would you say is the most impactful digital experience you've ever had?
You might be, I would say that this is something not common today. It's not hyping, but I know that even the name of this game, it's a game, by the way. And I remember this day when I got this, when I went through this experience, it was the day when I bought the first VR headset for PlayStation. The first generation, just when it appeared. If I'm not mistaken, my team from Blink made me a birthday present many years ago and gifted me this, made me a gift, this PlayStation VR headset. Mm-hmm. And I remember that I, immediately explored the whole database of games, and you could barely find anything, at this moment. And there was one game which was called Batman Arkham VR.
Oh yeah, I know that one.
Oh my god, I remember it was a game which you could complete within 2 hours, but I spent in this game, I remember just looking into this VR headset, looking at Batmobile during the rain for like an hour at night. So when my brain really felt that I'm in the 3D dimension, in other worlds, and after an hour I understood that I'm there. That every person who has ever touched VR knows that it's fucking completely uncomfortable to use, but this experience was something what I've never experienced in my life before, this digital experience, and specifically this game. Even though I tried Half-Life Alyx after this and everything else, it never, affected, made such an effect as Batman VR, which was unfortunately only 2 hours long game.
Yeah,
but
I love that.
It was amazing.
I love that though. I do think the first time one experiences that, like the ease with which your brain does actually surrender to being in a totally different environment. And I agree, right? There's all these UX frictions, things are janky, it's uncomfortable, but like it's actually surprisingly easy to trick the brain into, thinking you're there. And I'm so excited for the experimentation, downstream in many years to come. Obviously, we've got those Orion glasses from Meta now. I'm a sucker, right? I own all of the headsets. I buy them every year. I got the Apple Vision collecting dust, but it's good fun.
Wait, what do you think about Apple headset?
I mean, I think it's amazing. It's such a strong glimpse into what the future is going to hold, right? Like the first time you have the gaze tracking, like whatever it is, the dynamic resolution rendering, being able to just tap your fingers and click and select something, how intuitive it is for the brain to like feel and interact with stuff like that. That's what excited me the most. Obviously, like being able to pull up your laptop in there is cool. You know, the craziest part about it for me was I had something wrong. It wouldn't let me authenticate on my account. And so I contacted Apple support and someone appeared in my headset. He was able to.
Oh my God,
he was basically, he was like diagnosing the issue for me. And he goes, "Is that a PC on your desk?" I was like, "Wait, what the fuck? You can see through my headset?" That felt like an invasion of privacy. I could have been butt naked, you know.
It's much.
But that was cool as well, just to see like even that concept of like, yeah, real-time support where they can see what's going on through your headset as well. But whatever, love the engineering, love the headset, big Apple fanboy. I'll always buy whatever they drop, so whatever.
Likewise.
I don't really care. So you kind of touched on Batman, but I wanted to ask, other than Off the Grid, naturally, what is your all-time favorite game?
Half-Life 2.
Oh, nice. Get in with it.
I remember, so of course the campaign was something mind-blowing. I started with Half-Life 2, to be clear. I remember I played Half-Life first chapter of Half-Life, but multiplayer mode, but I just finished Half-Life 2 campaign first. And then I spent years in Half-Life Deathmatch, which was freaking amazing experience. And even today, I think it's a very it's a perfect experience for competitive gaming.
Dude, I totally agree. I last played that like 2 months ago using the gravity gun. I can't remember the exact name.
Like 2 months ago was then.
Yeah, we must give it a go at some point. And then, yeah, I guess in closing, also wanted to ask what the most impactful book you've ever read is.
Good question. You know, when I when I watch interviews or listen podcasts, I sometimes think what I would answer. I think that during different stage of your life, you have different you would give different recommendations, right? But something what I would say to everyone who is watching us right now, is that the book, which is called Cold Start, which was written by Andrew Chen, is an amazing go-to plan how to launch any product, consumers-oriented or not consumer or business-oriented product today or tomorrow. Perfect book. Highly recommend to watch it. Andrew Chen, if you watch this interview, thank you so much. It's helped me a lot to look at something what I own and what I do and analyze it and improve it. Amazing book. Amazing.
There we go. Well, Vlad, it's been a pleasure. I'm so glad we've managed to find the time. I know you're not in the office. You've been feeling a little unwell, but I really appreciate you jumping on all the same. It's been an insane amount of excitement in this launch period. I'm excited for many more. I'm pretty sure my wife's going to divorce me at this point because I won't stop wearing these Gunzilla tops.
Thank you.
I'm wearing them non-stop. Yeah, very excited for all things to come with Gunzilla. And yeah, super excited to be in your corner. And it's been a pleasure chatting.
Likewise, my friend. Thank you so much. Thank you for the chat.